My name is Elli Milan, and I am the founding owner of Milan Art Institute. I've been a professional artist for the last 30 years. I've also helped over 6,000 students worldwide develop their art style. I will help you learn the 5 foundational steps that will make your artwork stand out, tell your story, and connect deeply with others. First, we'll discover how self-discovery shapes your style. Next, I'll break down the foundations of style. Then we'll look at how themes, personal symbols, and your edge influence your artwork. Plus, I have a free workbook with creative prompts and exercises to help you discover your style and to see what truly moves you. The link is in the description. Why do you even want to bother finding your style? Number one, it will give you a fan base. And if you have a fan base, you'll have people that want to buy your artwork. If you have a cohesive body of work, you have a style, and you can recognize, oh, that's that artist that paints like blah, blah, blah. Your art becomes synonymous with what it is you have to say, the themes that you like to paint in, your personal symbols, your story. And when all of that is out there in a consistent way that is predictable, then people trust you as an artist, feels really genuine and authentic. Another thing is you sort of bypass that veneer of simple beginning points of all the styles, and you get to the very deep part of your style. When you are sort of trying this thing, one day you're kind of painting impressionistically, and maybe you're doing landscapes and florals, and then you start doing portraits and they're more graphic and whimsical, and then the next time you paint, you're doing mixed media collage or something, and it's kind of all over the place. You're just hitting the surface of each of those processes and each of those themes, and you're not able to spend time, meaning years and years, going deeply into that subject and into that process where you find that treasure of that universal, personal, authentic voice that people will connect with. Also, it will help you stop emulating. Emulation is completely normal. I went through phases of my career emulating other artists. Emulation is, I think, a necessary part of the creative process. There's nothing to be ashamed about emulation. How do we get to that place where we no longer emulate and we're just deeply in our own style? And guess what? Other artists will emulate you. That is another reason why you want to find your style. Also, you will stop struggling with productivity. They're not in that sort of creative flow, call it a creative river, this flow where they're just flowing along that river and one idea leads to the next idea, to the next idea. And pretty soon you have so many ideas, you barely have time to actually flesh out those ideas. What is the sweet spot for you? It is absolutely possible. I've seen it in hundreds, maybe even thousands of artists that I have known over the years, that they get to this sweet spot. That is, I think, what every artist is really striving for. And that's where you have plenty of skill. You know how to draw, you know how to see values, you know how to mix color. You don't even have to think about mixing color. You know exactly what brushes to use, how to use them, what brush gives you what brush stroke. Nothing is a big mystery anymore. You just go and enjoy the whole creative process without any stress, without any self-doubt, without any crashes, without any negative self-talk. You're just creating in bliss and freedom. That comes when you know your voice and you have lots of skill. Another piece is being in the flow and never getting stuck and having endless ideas. That happens through having plenty of skill, knowing your voice, and going very deeply in your subject. So we already kind of talked about that, but when you are there and you're in that flow, a lot of artists think, oh, you know, you're in the flow for a while, but then you'll have a creative block and it'll all stop. And I have found in my career of painting for 30 years that that doesn't really happen. I think the last time I was stuck was maybe 8 years ago. So I think that is, you know, a great place to be where you don't have that fear of getting stuck anymore. I think what we're all looking for is that demand on your work, where there's this pull, where there's enough people that love your work, they're wanting it and they're contacting you, and you're not sitting there with a pile of paintings in your studio going, oh, how am I ever gonna sell these? You have a fan base, you have collectors that are connecting with your work because you found your voice, you found your style, and they're pulling on you. And the second you have something done and you announce that your next painting is finished, you already have several people that want to buy it. And it is extremely possible. I'm saying this from experience, and I'm saying this because I've lived it. It doesn't require talent. It doesn't require magic. It doesn't require to be discovered by somebody. There's no luck involved in this. You are 100% in control of getting to that sweet spot. And I think that's empowering. You get to decide. Nobody else gets to decide. You can take the steps. You can put the action there that will get you to that sweet spot where you have plenty of skill, you are in a flow and not getting stuck, and there is demand on your work. And you are living the life of an artist in complete creative bliss and freedom. That is why I even do what I do. That is why I opened Milan Art Institute. That is why I'm standing here today on YouTube speaking with you, because I want with all my heart for you to get to that sweet spot. What are the steps to get to the sweet spot? Remember, I said you are 100% in control of getting there. You might have skill already, but do you have enough skill? Are you really in that place that you can mix colors without thinking? There's really nothing you can't paint. I know lots of artists that in 1 year built their skill to the point where they have plenty of skill. Next step, find a process for both your source material and your painting process. You need a process for both of that. How do you get inspired? How do you gather what inspires you and find source material to create from? How do you find those photographs? Are you taking your own photographs? Are you painting out of your head? Do you work with sketches? All of that is a part of your source making process. Then there's, your actual execution of your painting. What materials are you working with? What order do you put it all in? How do you actually render your forms? What is your process, and does it fit with your temperament? Developing a style. So having a consistent style that your name is synonymous with. I've developed actually a few styles over the years, and it's evolved over time. If you look at the 30 years I've been an artist, you can see that it was all, from the same artist. So having a consistent, cohesive body of work is a key step to getting to that sweet spot. Knowing what it is you want to say. So this is going to go into the next part where we talk about self-discovery. What is it that you really care about? What are you passionate about? What do you want to say? Then show your work to everyone all the time. You got to show your work. You have to get it out there in order to endear people to you so that they become collectors and put demand on your work and want to buy your work. We know we teach in our school all kinds of marketing, all kinds of brand building, all sorts of strategies on how to get your artwork out there, different methods of channel of distribution, but all of that is really easy. It's super easy if you have the product, if you have the artwork that is in your style, that is unique, that has a lot of skill to it, and you are connecting with the collectors and people want it. The how to get it out there, how to get it seen by lots of people is a piece of cake. You just have to be willing to do it. Finding your style is a journey of self-discovery. There's all kinds of ways to know ourselves. We can know ourselves psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. We all have memories and experiences. We all have a childhood. We all have various experiences that we have gone through and that we've lived through. Some are good, some are bad. And this all shapes who we are, how we see the world, and what it is we have to say. We have emotional patterns. We have psychological patterns, the way that we think about things, how we see things. And each one of us is unique in that way because we have a story. We all have a different experience and therefore a different story. That's why your artwork, my artwork, is unique. It's unique to us because our story is unique. We all have ethnicity to us. We have culture that we grew up in. That can be sort of a microculture, whether you grew up in a small town or you grew up by the ocean or you grew up in the mountains. That is going to influence your art. That's going to influence what you have to say and why you're saying it. I'm an American, but I grew up with a Greek father, and so I'm very attuned to Greek culture and Greek sort of psychology and emotional patterns because I grew up in that culture. But I didn't grow up in Greece with two Greek parents, so it's a little different than when I go visit Greece and I see Greek people that grew up like that. It's a little bit different. That is what is unique to my experience. And you have an ethnicity and a culture as well. We all have pain. We all have had opportunities to overcome our pain. We either chose to do that or maybe we weren't ready at the time. That is a big part of our voice, our story, and our themes that we're going to paint in. We all have families, relationships, maybe siblings, lovers, partners. We have core beliefs, things that we feel really strongly about that are important to us, and a cause, if you will, that we align with. And that all will influence also what you have to say and why you're saying it. We all have an edge. You have an edge. There is something very unique about you, and you have some kind of unfair advantage. Everybody has one. And it's up to you to go through a process of self-discovery where you can understand what your unfair advantage is, finding your edge. A great way to think about that are these prompts. Think about what makes you different than others. I just talked about, I grew up with a Greek dad and an American mom in the United States here. But that's really different than how other kids grew up that had two American parents. And it's really different than how most Greeks grew up with two Greek parents. There's something a little bit different about me, and I've always felt like being Greek and having a unique point of view has given me an edge. What makes you different than other people? There's something different about you. Where have you always stood out? If somebody were to talk about you, what are the first things they're going to say that differentiates you from everybody else? What were you known for in school? What are some standout things about you? How are you unusual? Maybe there's something about the way that you look that is unusual. What are your unfair advantages? Maybe you traveled a lot as a child. Think about, even make a list of all the ways that you are different. What is distinct about you? And that is a way to find your edge. It's going to be the culmination or the combination of all those things. You have one too, everybody has one. We all have our own unique aesthetic. That aesthetic is basically what we find beautiful. How do we define beauty? When we see something and I go, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. I love that. But then the person next to me is like, what? What are you looking at? They don't see it. We all are unique in that way. And what I find beautiful and what you find beautiful is because we see through a prism. And what our prism is it's your edge, it's your ethnicity, it's your culture, it's your experiences, it's your psychology, it's your emotions. It's all those things. It's like inside of you is pictures, all kinds of visuals, all kinds of pictures that is your own personal aesthetic. It's already there. You already have it. It's not something you have to, create. It's already there. But you get to discover it by looking at lots of things and paying attention to what you find beautiful and seeing the pattern of that. That's how you identify your aesthetic. This little equation here, aesthetic plus taste plus process, is your style. That is the ingredients to your style. So when you are seeking an artistic style to be known for, so that you have collectors, so that you can get to the sweet spot, it will be made up of these three parts. Your aesthetic plus taste, we're gonna get to that, plus your process. How do you execute a painting? This is a very good equation to pay attention to. Those three things equal your style. Back to aesthetic. Forms, color, rhythm, lines, texture, light, contrast, composition, pattern. All those things create our aesthetic. How we see beauty is going to fall into these sort of categories or visual elements. This would be an example of my personal aesthetic, a little bit about my background. The fact that I grew up Greek thinking and Greek culture is very organized and almost linear. As you can see here, there's a lot of straight lines and there's sort of this random order to things. But there's also this organic, windy path. And I'm somebody that likes to sort of fly by the seat of my pants. I don't like to be locked down, but I do like structure and order, and I'm very disciplined. I love blue and red together, or this turquoise and burnt orange together. That color combination just really inspires me. And if you look at Greek culture, there's a lot of blue and red together. It's this sort of Aegean kind of color palette that you see very often there. And this color palette, the way the forms are, the light, the glow, all those things are a part of my personal aesthetic. So when you see my artwork and how that transcribes those visuals, that thumbprint that's inside of me of what I find beautiful, it automatically comes out in my artwork. You'll see the same colors, you'll see, the structure, but you'll also see this sort of windy randomness, and it's gonna be the same for you. You will have a collection of images and forms and rhythm and textures and color, line, all those things that you really find beautiful, and they will show up in your artwork as well. Here's another example. So Dimitra is my daughter. She also is a co-owner of Milan Art Institute, and she is a fabulous artist. If you don't know her already, she got her start in art at age 15, and in her first year, she sold over $1 million worth of her art. This is her personal aesthetic. So if you look at the colors, very different than mine. I find this pretty. Like, I look at it and go, oh yeah, it's nice, that's pretty. But I'm not like, oh, that's so beautiful. It's not something I feel here. It's something here I go, yeah, that's pretty. That's nice looking. This is what resonates with Dimitra. And so when you look at her artwork, you can absolutely see that aesthetic translate right into her artwork. That is sort of an idea of how aesthetic is a piece of your style. Now, moving on to taste. That was the next part of that equation. Taste evolves over time. My aesthetic may evolve and it may shift and deepen, but it's not going to really change. It's there permanently, and so is yours. But taste does change. And so taste is something that as we get more educated in our taste and we evolve in our taste, it will change over time. And we can always educate and elevate our taste. Something I tell artists, and it really irritates them, they don't like to hear it, is you have bad taste. I have bad taste. We have bad taste. If you can admit that, if you can say that to yourself, I have bad taste, I need to educate my taste, then your taste will evolve. If your taste evolves, a lot of times I see artists, they would sell a lot more of their artwork, or they would sell their artwork at a higher price if they elevated their taste. Because people, and this is where it irritates people, people with more money that have traveled more, that have eaten at higher elevated places, that have bought furniture or clothing that was designed by designers, typically have a higher level of taste, and they want to buy artwork that's at that taste level. That definitely rubs artists the wrong way because they don't want to change their taste. They like what they like, and they don't want to elevate that. An issue of being teachable and willing to grow. If you can just admit, maybe I need to elevate my taste, or how can I elevate my taste? What would that look like? And you were open to it, then you would find that once you've elevated your taste, you'll love what you love even more. It's not like there's anything wrong with your taste level. If it was elevated a little bit, you would have more opportunity. The great thing about the internet is you can travel on the internet. You can see these things without having to go physically into a store or a museum if you don't have that around you. So being able to sort of feast your eyes on things that are out there that are beyond your usual, you're going to elevate your taste naturally. We all do. A picture here on the left and a picture on the right, and they're both kind of this eclectic, colorful style, lots of mixture of patterns, but one is a little bit less cohesive. There's not an intentionality to the scale or thinking of it as a whole. It's sort of a hodgepodge of a lot of colorful things and pattern kind of thrown in there. There's a lot of cheap objects. There's a lot of kitschy things in there. And somebody who is buying original artwork probably doesn't decorate their house like this. This looks more like an artist house, but not somebody who's the collector of art. Whereas the one on the right is a little bit more elevated in taste. There's a definite intention behind it in terms of the forms, the cohesiveness, how one thing relates to another, while still maintaining that fun, eclectic style. If you look at this bouquet of flowers, sometimes things in lower taste are typical. They're not that unique. They're sort of, ho-hum, yeah, I saw that at the local florist, but nothing special. This person who designed this floral bouquet didn't just throw a bunch of pink flowers into a vase. They really thought about scale, the elements of art, the patterns, the color cohesiveness. They thought about all of that. This is a higher quality. There's more time, effort, and rarity that went into this expression of a bouquet than the one on the right. And that is a big part of elevating your taste, is thinking about those things, being intentional. The last part of that equation is process. That is your materials, the order you use them, how you create sources, source material to inspire what it is you create, your process for finding inspiration, developing inspiration, how you lay down paint. Where do you struggle in the creative process? We're all different. Some people struggle with the beginning of the painting. Just committing to an idea is hard for them. Some people struggle in the middle of the painting, let's say the ugly stage. That's where I struggle. And then some people struggle finishing paintings. They don't know when it's done. So that's all a part of your process, and developing habits and ways to overcome these things so that the whole thing just flows. All of these things, plus more, are a big part of your creative process. So there's a lot of things that influence the themes that you paint in. So that's the subject matter. What subject matter you want to paint in is going to be influenced by a lot of these things on this list. We go really deep into this in our mastery program, where we talk all about different kinds of archetypes. But basically, an archetype is a pattern of behavior. So you have a pattern of behavior, I have a pattern of behavior. There's this psychologist, Carl Jung, that talked about 12 main archetypes, and they're very interesting to learn. And basically the theory is that we all can exhibit these 12 archetypes, but some more than others. So we have our dominant archetypes and our less dominant archetypes, but it's all basically a pattern of behavior. So for example, if I'm painting a horse, and let's say I have a hero type archetype, or an archetype that's very rebellious, then maybe my horse is bucking or rearing or running or in action. But my husband's archetype is jester and caregiver, innocent. His horses are eating grass, they're laying down, they're chilling out. They're not jumping and bucking and running and rearing and leaping. That's just an example of what I'm talking about. Also, our memories, our experiences, our cultural background, our overcoming pain, your spirituality, all these things influence our themes. Your relationships with the natural world, our stories, our parables that are in us. We all have stories. We all have things that are meaningful to us. We all see metaphor and symbolism and connection and how we connect the dots, the serendipities that we notice. They're all different in each of us. Those things that you notice, those parables show up in our artwork. It influences our choices on the themes that we paint, on the subjects that we paint. Let's say you're painting a seascape of a harbor scene. Is your boat coming or going? You know, those are subconscious things, but they mean something. If your boat is leaving, it means something. If your boat is returning, it means something. Tapping into those, being able to interpret them, being able to understand why we do what we do. Sometimes our family birth order influences the themes. Geography, do we live by the ocean, the lands, the mountains, city, weather, all these things influence our themes. It's not random. You didn't just find a photo and go, that looks like a cool tree, I think I'll paint it. There's a reason behind all of it. There's a reason you were attracted to that tree. We all have a whole array, a whole vocabulary of personal symbols, and you sort of collect them over time. And sometimes over maybe a span of 10 years, some symbols sort of fall away and you adopt new ones. So we all sort of operate and collect our own personal symbolism. They usually pertain to our cause in life, and there's a root to these symbols. And I've always said, if you can identify your deepest pain in life, and therefore how you overcame that pain, or how you are overcoming that pain, it really points to your superpower. It really points to how you are effective in life, and all your symbols really sort of surround that. Your superpower is your cause. What you've overcome in terms of your deepest pain is your cause. If you were to give a TED Talk and you got to speak to the world for 20 minutes, what would it be about? What would your TED Talk be about? What is your cause? That, I think, is an important piece to this, to really understand what that is. What is required from you to get to that sweet spot? What we're talking about is big. It's your dream. It's why you're alive. It's what you live for. Okay, this is your purpose. That's not something that you just play at a couple hours a week. That is not just something frivolous. This is really deep stuff. It requires commitment. It requires dedication. It requires 100% focus. It requires you to go, wow, this is it. This is my chance. This isn't an accident that I'm watching this workshop today. This is the day my life changes. This is the day I make the decision to commit to my dream, to commit to what my soul has been yearning for, to become a professional artist that gets to paint every single day and actually say something that touches people, that grips their heart, that changes the world. It requires dedication. You have to spend time on it. If it gets tough, that's when commitment comes in. No, I committed to this. I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna keep going in this. You dedicate time. You preconceive every week I'm gonna commit so many hours to developing myself as an artist. And I'm gonna promise myself that I will stick to it. That is dedication, focus. I'm going to make a list of all the things I'm doing right now that I don't need to do. I don't need to watch TV. I don't need to play video games. I don't need to scroll on the internet for hours. I'm gonna get rid of all that, and I'm gonna focus. I'm gonna turn that time that I'm wasting into time I can spend achieving my dream. That is focus. If you're committed, dedicated, and focused, you will commit the time, the will within you to accept challenges. These things aren't easy. If it was so easy, everybody in the world would be a famous artist. These are not easy. It requires you to accept the challenge. It's a willful thing. It's something in your will. You just make a decision. I am the kind of person that when I see a challenge, I will stick with it. I'm not gonna let it make me quit. I'm not gonna give up. I realize challenges come with this, and when one comes, I'm gonna face it head on, and I'm gonna go through it, and I'm gonna plow through it, and I'm gonna get over it, and I'm gonna learn. I'm a growth-oriented person. Now this is the hard one. This is the hardest one of all of these. Believe in yourself. Believing in yourself is very difficult. The reason it's difficult is because the whole world shouts at us that we can't have our dream, that artists starve, that there's no way you can do it. Well, if you were gonna do it, you would have done it by now. You're too old, you're too young, you're this, you're that, you live here. You don't have what it takes. The whole world tells us that. Why? Why? Why does the whole world want to discourage you from being a professional artist or from pursuing your dream? It's because it's exactly what you're supposed to do. What we are purposed to do, what our destiny is what we have the most resistance about. It's almost like you know that art is your destiny and it's what you're supposed to do with your life because there's so much resistance, because so many people have told you not to do it. That's how you know it's what you're supposed to do. And I think when you, at least for me, when I connected those dots and I realized I have purpose, my life counts, I am significant, and I'm put here on this earth for a reason, and that reason is to be an artist. That reason is to create. That reason is something bigger than myself. That gave me belief. That is what gave me belief. There's something beyond just me. It's just about, do I really want this? And is it my destiny? And is it my purpose? And if it is, then I can acquire everything I need. I can get the skills, I can make the time, and I can pursue this. Whatever belief you have right now, expound upon it, feed it, and shut out all the voices that tell you you can't, even your own voice, that voice inside of you that tells you you can't do it. And surround yourself with other dreamers. Surround yourself with other artists in a community that are going for it. And if you don't have a community like that, then join our community. If you are serious about developing your own unique style, then the Mastery program is for you. It is a one-year program that will help you grow your skills, find your style, and develop a cohesive body of work. So the question is, are you ready to take your art to the next level? Click the link in the description and start your art journey today.